Hey everyone, Will McReynolds from KP9 Interactive, creators of WorldCAST. And today I want to talk to you about WorldCAST and who it's for and why maybe you might not need to use it or want to use it if it doesn't align with what you want to build. And I'm hoping that this video will help people understand better before they go down the path and then find out that maybe WorldCAST can't do what you want to do for any particular reason, be it shortcomings of the browser today or technologies that might only work on certain devices. Like maybe you have a LiDAR based idea and it will only work for a device with LiDAR or time of flight as an example, and not the devices below. Things like that. So I have a list of the three most common things of why you may not want to use WorldCAST and why I want to help you understand before you go down the path with our company. But I do encourage you to dip your toes in the waters of AR, and maybe WorldCAST will help you present your idea to somebody without building the entire thing until it gives you time to build the entire structure if it needs to be code based, an example. And number three, coming in at number three, is code. So, you know, we don't do code yet. We want to build a solid foundation. And like any other company, we have our own little bit of jank that pops up. But thankfully, because it is browser based, we can get in there and fix it faster than what an update would be required on something you would have to download, either be it an app that you would have to re-download and update, or a code base. Like maybe there's an update for X program, right? Maybe it's a graphic design program, and if there's an update that needs to be done, you would have to do the update to fix the problem. In our case, everything is done in the back end. So every time you load the portal or the studio, it's always the latest version that there possibly is. Now, there's some issues that might arise with a cache issue on a browser. That's something that is a common problem sometimes if you're doing a lot of testing yourself. The end user themselves, they're not going to have the same issue in many ways. A creator might be looking at their same cast multiple times, resaving it, looking at it again, or more casts than what the general public would look at. And sometimes there could be a little bit of a cache issue. That's an example. It's not necessarily a code-based issue, but I'm explaining the things that are inherent to our company still as we fix. But if you're code-based, you have to go in there and do it yourself, and you have to if you do an iOS app and an Android app, you're going to have to do the code, and you're going to have to do the updates in kind. And if you are using web-based stuff, the same thing, you're doing the library, but it gives you a little bit more granular control to do your idea, obviously, right? So that's great. I encourage innovation, and I encourage ideas to be explored, and that's why I love what people are doing out there all around. You know, the more better things people do, the better AR works for us all. WorldCAST is its own particular path of making sure that we can help creators of today and agencies and those that get the path to create what they have content. They don't have to worry about the code. They can quickly get in there with our do-it-yourself. What you see is what you get studio for print, for marker-based, markerless, for just surfaces, SLAM, and geospatial, without having to worry about XYZ coordinates or, right? Now, one thing I will let you know is we are building towards an open core model of WorldCAST. There will be a marketplace for people that are coders. We want the people that can code. So right now, WorldCAST is like for 80% of the people out there, 20% of the coders. Of course, these are numbers I'm just roughly making up. But the point is, there's a lot of creators that aren't coders, and there's a lot of coders that aren't creators. So to be able to make sure that in that creator economy of things, we can help people connect and network with modules they might be built on the open standards of today, right? Things that we will know at work because the basement is solid, and that's what we've been building towards, a very solid foundation. So if you're looking to code, that's not us today, but it will be. But you might need you might have an idea that you want to explore, and that's obviously, I support that. And I think that's what's beautiful about all this is the fact that there's many different paths to get to what people want. Our particular path is to help people get what they want in the quickest way with the content they might already have, be it MP3, green screen, and work in a way that they can quickly design in a spatial studio geared for what you see is what you get way. Coding with a IDE and doing certain things, there is no visual editor. You're doing things, you might even be doing the coordinates in an XYZ and position, learning quaternions and all those wonderful things that go with spatial design if you're doing code-based. That's number three. Number two is, if you're looking to do a flavor of the week design. Maybe you see a video that's gone viral and it's an effect, and you that might not be easily scalable. For example, let's use volumetric video as an example. There's not too many places that can ways that you can access volumetric video. Either it's a studio and there's very few of them, or you might build your own rig, or any other possible way of doing that today. That's an example of something that gets a lot of views, but doesn't really translate well as of yet. It's a very niche element of today. That's, I'm doing this video in 2024, in April 2024, so things will continuously evolve and stuff. I don't want to date myself in this. I'm just talking about the era right now as of today. Doing volumetric capture is one thing, and serving it is actually not that difficult in many ways, but we didn't build it in because there's no need to build that pipeline yet when it's not even a request from any of our, we've had like a few requests out of, I'll say like maybe less than 1% of people, because they saw it and they actually referred to a video that they sent us to go, we'd like to do this. Another one is portals as an example. Doing things that still require code or making a template in WorldCAST is a lot different than what you might get from a code-based template or other things. And again, portals that you place and then walk into and you're in the experience are fantastic, right? We do a lot of tourism stuff, but as of yet, not too many people are using portals at large out there, and there hasn't been really an easy way to do a code-free version of it, because we don't want things to look vanilla, right? We want to be able to make sure like it's like a sandbox. WorldCAST is like a sandbox where you can place the elements and content in and not be bound to any kind of preconceived template or have them all look the same, right? We want to get to the point where you can just grab your elements and be able to have it placed. There hasn't been a really big need for it yet. Therefore, it isn't something that we put into the studio because it's a little bit more complicated to make it work in a code-free way. Well, if we go back to number 3 and we get that marketplace and everything's going, then that will tie in nicely with number 2. But trying to emulate things that you see that get viral views, it doesn't necessarily equate that you're going to get virality in and of itself from emulating the exact same thing. But you're probably going to need Unity, Unreal, or other pieces of software that are a little bit more or isolated, like maybe it was a Snapchat filter, maybe it's a Snapchat system to develop on versus Instagram versus whatever flavor of effect silo that you might be doing, and they don't translate well together. So you have to develop one. If you do what for one, you'd have to do it in kind for the others. That's why I love browser-based stuff. It just, everybody can have access to a link and be able to make sure it works. So we're not necessarily chasing flavor of the week ideas or creations. We're only serving what makes the most sense on the platform of today across as many devices as we can. And of course, based on the aforementioned number 3, there can be some issues that could be introduced, and the fact that we can solve them faster than most app-based or programmatic download-based apps on your desktop, Mac, or phone or tablet is why we don't chase those flavor of the month or week scenarios. Okay, we might never hop onto that camp because it might not be. It might just be it's a very small niche. WorldCAST is built for the ask over the last since I've been in this since 2011. And WorldCAST was generally built on the ask of the majority of people. I started off selling AR, okay? And I used to do webinars for a company called Mateo, and I would listen to the feedback of thousands of users, and I would help out on the help desk and all these other things. This is all built on a solid foundation of the majority of the ask of what the majority of people are looking for. How do I take the content I have today and just quickly put it in there so I can make it work and get on with the day? And that's what WorldCAST really is about, and that's why we have the server structure that we have, and we want to make sure that the content that you have access to or you create is readily available. And now we come down to number 1. It's if you're looking to own an idea or want exclusivity, that isn't really what WorldCAST is actually for. We want to build a system that anyone could access it and serve their idea with no garden walls of ideas or ownership of IP or ideas. You know, people talk about democratizing things. In my case, I've been talking about, and this is pretty much only, I only use two words that could be perceived as hype in many ways: spatial and democratize. And I've been using those since I started. One, because we're spatial creatures and everything we do translates in the space and we learn better, and augmented reality was a natural fit for how I think. But going back to the idea of ownership, once you start making something exclusive to someone, that's not democratizing. That is now, as soon as you start putting walls of ownership or ideas or trying to own an idea, people come to me and want exclusivity as an example, come to the company. And the world at large for AR is so huge because the world at scale does not yet know about it in many ways. So to segment and compartmentalize and give exclusivity to one person really hinders the majority of growth that could happen. And not just for my company, for the world at large, for the people, the new creator economy to have access to things. Why would one company that can do it versus the many individuals that have ideas as well? It's not first, there's one thing about having ideas, there's another thing about building the idea and making it work for you. I don't think it's fair for us. I'm providing ingredients. Anybody should be able to make a cake or something off those base ingredients, but some people are going to do it really well and make it more tasty or have the right marketing or whatever and get that idea out there and make a success of it. There could be a very popular cake person and there could be somebody else that just wasn't well known enough, but everybody has their equal avenue with WorldCAST to be able to do that. And that's where I always felt the power of our system was to give everybody the idea to put their ideas onto reality and dip their toes into the water of AR. That's all this has ever been about. I'm not trying to own anybody's ideas. I want you all to equally have the way to create content, serve that content in a way that works the best today that it can, as best as we can make it for you as we keep on growing ourselves, and be able to have that access to everyone and not, and again, just make sure that the tools that make the most sense today are the ones that make most sense today for the creators that are starting to dip their toes in the water, as I mentioned, as well as the general public at large that have not yet used AR themselves. And we want to get rid of as much complication as we possibly could by making it as simple as we possibly could. And even there's more work to be done on that, as if all companies have more work to do on that as we keep furthering that education for the more we learn, the more we help offset and help other people learn how to use AR and make it more adopted overall. That's what every company should be doing. That's what I'm about, and I want to make sure that you guys can all have it. So our path for our roadmap, we're going to open core things. That's what we're working towards. And while we may not be for everybody, those are reasons that you might not want to use WorldCAST, because I also don't want you to feel like you're trapped into something. But on that note, we're also making it so that you can export the content that you create as a JSON. And so what that means is if you use our spatial editor to move content around, put multiple objects into the studio, we are going to make it sooner than later that you can export that content with the JSON and stuff so that you can just bring it into your code base without having to worry about where you position the stuff and the scale of things. We see that as a natural fit for somebody that, to not make somebody feel like they're locked into something. That is also something that I've always been big about. So what you might not have seen on the front, behind the scenes, I've been fighting to make sure that we can do a lot of things that were the best path and the most appropriate path, I felt, by listening to the majority of creators. Ways of making it easy to cancel as best as we can, so you're scheduling, so you don't have to worry about your credit card being dinged in next month. Not having view count, so you don't have to worry about trying to budget for, oh no, I got like a million views and now I owe like $3,000 to the company because I had to pay per impression. We don't want any of those things. We want a very easy pricing matrix. Make sure that free was totally free with no access, with no limitations other than the banner, and you don't get the full analytics. That's the only hurdle that we throw up for the free. But you can use every feature. There's no feature lock, right? Everything's available to you, except for the branded Portal Partner package. But if you become a partner, you can customize your colors and stuff. But we made it easy for everybody in the different verticals that we could, so everybody has the access to it to actually truly get their ideas out there and put their ideas onto reality. So thank you for watching. Those are my top 3 reasons why you might not want to use us. But if you do use us, I can't wait to see what you create.